Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Tyler Edlin, and in this episode tonight I'll be talking about just some Q&A stuff. I got a couple emails lately and I just wanted to address the questions. So the first one was, how do you approach big personal projects? And they wanted to know, is it something I make design sheets for? Do I make a lot of sketches? Do I write stories? How much planning goes in? How many thumbnails, for an environment, for example? I'd first like to disclose, I've never finished a big personal project before. I really haven't, and that's why I haven't gone in depth or out of my way to really talk about it on this particular channel yet. And it's also a huge motivation for me to actually finish something, so I can talk about it more, especially with more confidence and knowledge. I would look actually at Jake Parker, his channel on YouTube, for a lot about that. He's really good at finishing things. I'm almost kind of there, finishing up my Skies of Arcadia mini redesign project, which it was just something I started to practice style and to refine some design ideas. And it was just for fun and mainly used as demonstrations for my students. And you can see kind of here up on screen, here's I believe the 5th of 6 characters I planned on for that series. It's a work in progress, like anything. He'll probably appear later on the channel when I kind of finish him up and do some more with it. But yeah, I have 2 characters left at least, depending whether or not I want to explore the villains, and maybe in a couple environments, and I'd call that project down basically. And then I have my personal ones, which so far is titled Sunderfall, but it's just world building stuff and narratives, which, a lot of it I write down in my actual physical notebook if I get an idea or something, or I use the notes option in my phone where I have access to it anytime, anywhere, and I just go in and use the notes app and jot things down. But a lot of it I'm unfamiliar with, really, so I spend a lot of time learning and looking and observing, and I write things like I have a whole page on notes like character backstories, great ways to set those up, how to set up characters' needs versus wants, doing villain design arcs, narrative arcs, world building tips. I have pages and pages of notes, and I watch a lot of things, and I just on YouTube and stuff, and I take notes from it. So I do plan a lot. Another thing that I like to use is a Coggle. It was recommended by some of the Brush Sauce Community Theater members, and it works great. And it looks like this. Allow me to just kind of bring it up on screen here, and it's just a mind mapping process. I've been using this lately to kind of again map story arcs and develop characters with, but it's Coggle. It's really great, and they can get really complex or really simple, but it's a great way for organizing and sorting your ideas, because I have tons of these. Are all plot notes and character ideas. I have things just swimming around my desk, like here's an actual paper mind map idea for this overview, like the history of this race for this idea I have. So I've got lots of things across every medium, all over the place. And someday maybe I can make it something I can call finished. But yeah, for now, even on a simple character, because it led to the second question. When working on a project, how do I approach it in mid and early production? Well, let's say I come up with a character idea or a race example. I might start off with an actual description, something like this. So I kept it pretty simple, but kind of direct, enough to give me visual cues, right? Outcasts from all societies but their own. This non-sovereign race lives as clans spread throughout the great forest of Etris. This race, though physically small and skittish, are actually friendly. Layered up with gaudy helmets, breathing systems, and wrappings on their limbs, they over-accessorize with some of the precious gems and other treasures of the forest. And you can really just see how it developed from a very vague, rough kind of idea, and it got a little bit more refined as I went down the list. And eventually I was finally at color ideas and, was actually drawing and designing out a lot of them. He's getting there. And I'll just keep pushing it and developing it until I'm happy with the design. Then I can layer it up into more kind of formal design sheets and make an actual portfolio page or something out of it at the very least, so I can have some kind of return on that. Which kind of leads to the next question. How do I gather reference? They said, do you do anything more than going to Pinterest, Google Images, or the library and museums or any other interesting searches. Most often today I go to photobash.org and I just buy photo reference packs, as many as I can, and in need for a project. I try to avoid as much as Google as I can for it just keeps getting worse with every upgrade, and if there is a specific photo pack for a subject I'm interested in, I'll just buy it. I'd rather have professional grade reference, and yeah, it's all usually royalty free and everything. I don't have to worry about anything. And yes, of course, I abuse Pinterest. I have all kinds of boards, and I have realistic things to lots of artist things on it. Yeah, but I don't do anything crazy. I don't go to a museum or anything like that because I'm lazy, and I'm usually home now babysitting. And until my daughter's old enough to take to a museum, I probably will just sit in and gather reference that way. Alright, so this leads to another question that's kind of related. What, in my opinion, does a good design sheet or document look like? Well, for me, it would be one that is book or portfolio ready. Is it something that I can present professionally to show an idea? And I have a few examples of that lined up here. Let me find it. I think Trent, over at the Aquatic Moon Studios does good design layouts, and I brought those kind of up on screen now. So look at the way he lays out the characters. He has their weapons, he has a little bit on their stance, their pose, also some alternative facial expressions, the body type explorations. It's just real nice layout. It's super simple, very direct. I like what he does a lot. He has a little bit of the story and the lore in there. So yeah, you can find that over at aquaticmoon.com, and he also has great ones, great design sheets for some of his Blizzard properties like Overwatch, exploring environments and doing props and stuff. But again, back to Pinterest, I have entire Pinterest boards just dedicated to art presentation. If I'm, getting to that point where I've done enough designs and I'm ready to finalize it, actually paint it, clean it up, and I think presenting something professionally is just as important as getting a professional quality image itself. And that's where a lot of people can tend to shortchange themselves. So I like this, for example. Right, let me visit this. Really great project guidelines, right? It sets up a few shots, has great, again, always great layouts, super simple, nothing noisy, right? And it shows, multiple skills, like drawing things from multiple angles, working through iterations, maybe a little bit of flavor text, a little bit of inspiration, alternative designs, and contextual cues to how it used. This is on Yeon, I don't know how to say it, park.com, but very good layouts. And it's going to come down to personal taste at the end of the day regardless. So what you might like is going to be something different than I like. Again, here's another great one for an environment tile. Very easy to read and very clearly conveys the idea. I think that's the most important aspect. And of course, having something like scale for character to show how large something is hugely important. This is the one I was looking for, by the way. I think it's great. Very clean, not overdone, not overpresented, and super direct. Alright, next one. What's your biggest inspirations in this field? Well, that changes almost like month to month, but I'd say currently, right now, and in no particular order, I'll at least give you my top 5, that came to my mind, and that would be Dave Raposa. I love his characters. I love his business, how he's turned art into such a profitable business, with his Skull and Shark company, and they make shirts, and he's working on his Steve Lichman comic, launching multiple Kickstarters successfully. He's just an idea factory, and I of course love his stylized stuff. I love his realistic renderings. I love how he does his character stuff. I love Ralph McQuarrie, of course. I love his illustrative approach to kind of world building that he did on the Star Wars universe, back in the 70s and through the 80s, of course. I always look at his stuff, always admire it. Next would be Armin Serrano. He's a great visual development artist. I believe he works, I think mostly for Disney, but he can just get any idea out with just like a raw pencil, and he works on great things like a Zootopia, and did a lot of art and development stuff. I just loved it all. It was really great. Always looking and referencing his things. I like, of course, Hayao Miyazaki. Again, it's awesome. He's made like such a long graphic novel series with Nausicaa. He did an animation. He can do anything. He working well into his, what, his 70s or 80s now. He's again an unstoppable force. Comes out of retirement like 5 times. His stuff kind of looks more French than Japanese, even though it's kind of very Japanese in flavor. But a huge, influence from the French, comic style, and I kind of love that splicing of it in his work. Really great stuff. It's so much expression out of all his designs, whether he's designing a canon or a character. It's got a lot of character, in a sense to it, and I love it. Last up, I would just say for today would be Jake Parker. Again, I mentioned him once already. Great channel. He comes up with like 4 books a year. He does graphic novel series. He does all the convention circuits. The guy's a machine, and again, he kind of sticks just to kind of drawing and simple shading, but I love it. He just has so many ideas, so inspirational. Again, he has a great channel. I recommend you go check it out. I watch all his content. It's fabulous. But those are my current top artists. So again, the next question would be, do you have any tips, sites, and documentaries on art? Now, I don't know of any documentaries exactly. I watch every making of featurette on any kind of movie or film I can. That helps. You can learn a lot that way. For sites, though, I just recommend something like Muddy Colors Blogspot, really great one, and GurneyJourney.com, which is a blog run by James Gurney. Really good stuff. Now, for books, anything by like Scott Robertson is usually pretty good. Anything by James Gurney is usually pretty good. Any art of book for anything you like would be a good research. What I find interesting in an art of book, someone else might not have any interest in that whatsoever. So again, it'll come down to personal taste. And do you have any tips for beginner artists and designers? Yeah, I have a few in no particular order. Again, find balance with your life. Don't sit there and lock yourself up in a room for even 8 to 12 hours a day and just try to drill out art. Go out, be social, experience things. You need to draw upon life to be creative and inspirational, and you should have balance in your life, I feel. Exercise regularly, socialize, eat normal and healthy. Just always have balance with everything, and the benefits are more definitely kind of long term on that. Focus. Find your focus. Focus on environments, focus on characters, focus on a particular style. Find out what you're really kind of naturally good at, I guess, and just work there as a starting point. Because once you get really good at something, then you can start to really get hired for that one thing and kind of branch out from there. It just doesn't make sense almost to kind of start out as a jack of all trades. If you struggle with something big, hide that. It's a weakness. You can compensate. You can compensate later on that, I say. No 2D and 3D. Even if you're just a 2D artist like me, if you know a little bit of 3D, you can get a long ways about it. With that, and it'll make your life and a lot of your ideas and stuff just a lot easier in general. And lastly, get your work in front of as many people as you can, and preferably even the right people when you can. And I say that because you need opportunities. Sometimes you can make those opportunities, but sometimes you have to wait for them. Like, go to conventions, go to art talk, but don't just kind of approach like the art directors and things like that. Like when you're just student level, sometimes they have portfolio reviews and you can get professional critiques and stuff. At least that kind of happens at CTNX over in Burbank, California. They have services like that, but that would be appropriate for there. But as soon as you really get the vibe, that you're good enough for work and you're getting that same response from honest peers, not your spouse or your family just sugarcoating everything or telling you that they love your work because you're a relative. You need to get honest feedback from professionals, just like as simple as like, am I work ready yet, even? Or do you think this is good enough to be marketable? Like, as soon as you know that your work is kind of good enough, and it's just a matter of getting your work in front of the right person, then go to all the conventions and everything and meet up with people, socialize, make connections and network, and get your artwork just in front of as many people that you can, and that's really the hard part. And you can start blogs, you can do Instagrams, but I think focusing on quality, over quantity is definitely the thing to do in that regard. But anyways, I'm going to wrap it up here tonight. Thank you for watching if you made it this far. I'm going to try to get some actual video painting tutorials and demos lined up pretty soon. So I'm sorry, it's been swamped with life and with work and everything. But the regular kind of program will be back pretty soon. So take care.